Hi, welcome to Detours Understanding Acquired Brain Injury. And as you can see, we have Joyce with us, and we're going to be talking about maintaining optimism in the face of any kind of acquired brain injury, which can be challenging, obviously. Well, Joyce, won't you bless you? Let you take it away.
Okay. Okay. Hello, and welcome to Detours. First, a little background. Martin Seligman was called the father of positive psychology, which is known as one of the leading researchers around the world of psychology. He served as the director of the clinical training program at the University of Pennsylvania for 14 years, where he learned where work revolved around learned helplessness, positive psychology, depression, and pessimism, as opposed to resilience and optimism. Someone said the defining characteristics between pessimists that they tend to believe that bad events will last a long time, forever, and undermine everything they do to the events are their own fault. Optimists, on the other hand, are confronted with the same hard knocks, think that all misfortune is the opposite way. They tend to believe that setback in defeat is just a temporary setback.
So, yeah, I mean, the positive, I just was, with what you're saying about the needs to approach it. Positive psychology applies to all forms of brain injury, though. So,
I wrote a blog. I wrote a blog recently that said there's nothing positive about having a stroke. I got the most vitriolic reactions to it. Positivity and stroke bother me. So when brain injury occurs for many survivors, they consider it a hiccup into life's plans. So I'll get better, tell themselves, I'll get better. And as the months go on, the confidence wanes and they're not getting better at the speed they want. And they, with only one hand on the non-affected side and one leg throbbing and signaling constantly, they are subject to give up hope. Mark, what do you say about that?
well, I mean, I'm an amputee because of the accident, my second TBI, and but I've talked to other hosts as well as consider myself. I mean, I talked to Kate, for example, and she was like, she found personality-wise, it's kind of opened her up a little more, and me too. I mean, I still have a lot of problems, but not everything is negative. And a friend of mine who's not a host here, but we've talked, and um, she said if I didn't have my traumatic brain injury, I would not have met my partner. I would not have had my kids. I would not have had the life I've had. She said, just because it doesn't line up with my plans doesn't mean it's all bad. It just means I was forced to take a different course. Now, of course, to keep in mind, there are some people who really never, they end up, custodial. They end up in a nursing home, when they're 20. And that's pretty much the end of their lives as far as like their independence. So it is more difficult for them to, have a more optimistic outlook. But, you know, I do think that you can still find, some positivity. But the question is like, can you take perspective? And it requires a tremendous amount of both courage and maturity to find, to find the positive. But I was just talking about this with with the group as far as like starting with gratitude, saying there are always things to be grateful. So we're talking about like gratitude journals, or like saying a person you're grateful for in your life, saying a thing you're grateful, and a situation. You can always find something, because it's a way to retrain your brain. It's easy to be negative, self-centered, to be, but yeah, no, you seem to reflect that optimism and that positive sense. You did something pretty courageous, and only an optimist would try to write a book, because there are tons of books out there. And to have that courage you've written two or three of them, I think, right?
Yes,
A couple.
I
That's
want to
great.
say a brain exchange was a tool for corresponding with many stroke survivors, many TBI survivors. Brain exchange is establishing a program now called Express Yourself. Express Yourself is a tool which will help on the Brain Exchange website, will help others to brain injured people to express themselves. Maybe write a book, or maybe write a book.
Yeah. This is courageous what the two of us are doing. Two brain injury people working on a teaching and communication site when both of us kind of have a rough spot with it, and all the hosts do have difficulty with communication, but it's important to do, and it is important. You can curl up into a ball and cry all the time, or you can grab your sword, get out there and fight.
Which is what I did in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Get out there and fight. That's what you did. You get out there and you fight, and that's what you did, and that's what I do. Yes, I have bouts of depression and being down sometimes, but you know what? For the most part, the two of us are optimistic. But that takes, like I said, that takes time. It takes some courage. It takes messing up to learn. You know.
I've always been optimistic. The stroke, I was so down. I get into depression. I was pre-suicidal, and I didn't want to. Yep, and I was that way for 2 years. I and then one day, um, my partner took me to a cousin's club, and the woman walked over to me and said, "You're a writer, right?" Yes, I said. Well, what can I write? I said, "Write a book." The next day, I thought, why not?
Yeah. What do you got to lose?
Yep.
And you were successful too.
Yes. I get 800,000
Damn.
and some hits on it, and 12 years. So it's not a big deal, but I consider it, well, a big deal. Okay.
It's
That
more
makes me,
success. It's more successful than, say, a person who
yes.
hasn't written a book. I mean, I've written nothing, but yeah, and here you are doing this too.
Yep.
It is important to at least give it a shot. And if you fall, you get up, you try again. I am fundamentally an optimist, even if I have bouts of depression. Optimists don't, it isn't that they don't get depressed, especially amongst the brain injury community. We're 8 times more likely to be depressed. But as you show, and so do our hosts, that they are, everyone who's on here who makes videos is fundamentally an optimist inside, even if they have long bouts of depression. Um, and it's harder when you're just starting out, much harder when you're just starting out. But it's like they still are spiritual, at least. We are warriors as well as survivors. The fact that we survived is like pretty darned amazing. And I like positive psychology. I like the idea of doing a gratitude journal. Every time, every day, you should put something you're grateful in there. Get a journal and just write something I am grateful. And I would encourage like at least three things. A person, not the same person always every time. Something different every day. A person you're grateful for in your life. No matter, even if it's like, the guy who let you in when driving, or the nurse who stopped by to check on you, whatever. Doesn't have to be a huge personality. And then something like, say you're grateful for coffee that day, whatever,
Yep, yep.
and a situation. Maybe someone thanked you for something you did, whatever, to
Yeah,
teach
that's where
you to
we're.
not be negative all the time.
Yep.
It's a
That's where we're
break out of
starting at.
thinking.
That's where we're starting Express Yourself a project, because many stroke survivors, and I'm writing a book about this, many don't, don't. And I feel bad for them, but they can. So even a blog is a, a convenient way to turn a blog into chapters. So instead
Mhm.
of writing a post, call it a chapter, and then
Yeah,
you have a.
I like this mode. This is my mode. I'm not much of a writer like that. I like this way, but to me, this is how I contribute.
Yeah,
And there, you don't have to do it by writing a book. You can make a video. You can, like, I don't know, paint a painting. Some people have a lot of talent in that area. So paint. It doesn't have to be art, or an artistic mode of expression. You could do it by helping people down at the food bank. Um, Help at your church, your synagogue, your mosque, whatever. Um, do something positive in that way, because the goal is to get you out of that negative, I quit, I give up, or that self-pity kind of. Because if you change your mind, you change your way of viewing life, and then you can help other people, help fellow stroke survivors, help fellow traumatic brain injury survivors, help people who've have volunteer at the hospital. God knows the hospitals really could use some help right now. I mean, things are, and show people who are just getting out of their situation, who have brain injuries, look what you can do. To me, that's very important. Volunteering, like in that way, um, make a positive contribution, and it changes the way you think about stuff. It makes you realize that.
Mark, have you ever heard of Pause MT? I'm going to tell you about that right now.
Please, yeah, I never heard of it.
Nahel Al wrote a scholarly study on post-stroke and positivity. He said, uh, um, post-stroke psychological. This is all allergy. Post-stroke psychological problems predicts poor recovery. But positive effects enable patients to focus on rehabilitation and improve functional outcomes. POSMT, which is stand for positive positive mental training. POSMT, MT, uh, guided guided to positivity, optimism, and resilience. So researchers believe that POSMD works, but depression often among stroke survivors negates that option. So we did a study, and post-stroke positivity um, uh, is down. And they listened to a series of audio tapes, like for 12 weeks, and 12 tracks for 12 weeks. And after that, 3 stroke survivors didn't want to cooperate, but 10 did. And after that, they moved to relaxation, to better sleep, reduced anxiety after 12 weeks. So it is possible to no adverse effects reported. So it's possible to turn your life around. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, yes, I do think. And yes, I would think that would be a positive thing. You hear the reinforcing kind of message and stuff. Sure. Yes, I do believe.
Robert Pena and Lindsay Eric, um, in another study, they were all done at the University of Cambridge in England. Psychological disturbances may affect rehabilitation, as I just said. So, of course, with 75% stroke survivors having a kind of physical defect, physical impairment that affects each of us, young or old. How can not? How can not? So what I'm saying is, yes, there are some stroke survivors who are negative, but most stroke survivors lean toward the positive side, or one so. I downloaded an app called um, uh, Think Up, and that app teaches you how to cultivate a positive mindset through self-talk. You agree with me, Mark, that some people to be positive, and that affects your rehabilitation. So
Oh,
what is that?
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I would say that that is probably more than anything else. We are survivors because of both our, how well we are, but also because of things that other people have done. The paramedics, the surgeons, the nurses at the hospital, things like that. But if we are going to be warriors and thrivers, that's on us. I mean, we survive because of the help of a lot of other people. But if you want to be more than that, that's on you. And if you're a negative person all the time, if everything sucks, if everything's terrible all the time,
Yeah, maybe.
that is your resilience or not. That is a personal thing. So you can call yourself a survivor, but that's more acknowledging and crediting other people's work with you. Whether
Exactly.
you grow as a person or not, that's 100% you. You either grow or you fail. That's on you, and that's a reflection of what's here. And the people I see that fall apart are those that just aren't strong enough. It's like
I,
a transplanted plant or whatever. I mean, it starts to grow, but that's from the help of the gardeners and of the quality of the soil and everything else. But whether it grows or not, that's on the seed, and you were that seed out there. Do you grow or do you die?
yep,
That's
yep.
on you. And so you can't say whether, it's like how good the quality of the people who transplanted you, but you can say whether you grow or not, whether you thrive or not, that's your character.
Yep, yep. I left a partner after 17 years because he got so negative about my stroke. There
Yeah.
was no one staying with him. So
Yeah.
I left him, and it was easy, all told.
If they're
I,
toxic to you, if they're bad for you, I mean, that's important too. It's
oh
like
yeah,
the people around you, they
it's
either
toxic.
are
It's
for you.
toxic. Yep.
And I've got friends who say to me, it's like family and people around them are not supportive of them. And if you are not getting the love, the empathy and the kindness from people around, which is what you need to grow. It's like it is the manure, it is the water that's to make your soil good. If you are not, and you need that to grow. And if they're always negative, cold, mean, get away and bad for you. That's what we all need and for each other. And it's like this is why I always call my fellow survivors part of my family, my survivor family. We understand, but that doesn't mean there aren't some survivors who, are through their own lack of, that strength and that character don't have problems too. And sometimes they're bad for you also, and maybe some distance. Um, but they do need help. So a little empathy and understanding towards them if they're struggling. So it isn't an excuse to cut, run. It's more like understanding and providing that support. Now, if they could persist, then there comes a time when you have to protect yourself. But for the most part, it's like you try and give them like support as much as you can for unless it starts to harm you. But that's something else. That would be another video topic. But anyway, so no, I agree with you 100%. Optimism really makes a grow and thrive. Too much pessimism. But no, I think every time you're negative, you should have to then go to your journal or video journal, whatever you want to make, and say something
Recording
positive.
app. Yes.
You should have to counter every time you're negative about somebody. And
I
maybe you
agree.
have to say something positive. So if I would say something negative about you, or like somebody, maybe you have to then say something positive to counter, to antidote, unless it's like a abusive situation or something. That's different. But if it's just like a coworker, friend, or family member or whatever, maybe then you also have to write something positive as an antidote for yourself, not to show them, but for yourself.
Yes, yes. For yourself. For yourself.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, no, that's even bigger because many of us are really nasty to ourselves. And so every time you're self-negative, you need to write a positive for yourself. Yeah, that is key. I think maybe I need to implement that in the company too. Like every time you knock yourself down, then you've got to write like something positive or say something nice about yourself. Because
Yeah.
oh boy, yeah, we are so self abusive, and it's like nope, nope, nope. You need to say something nice about yourself now. If you're caught, knocking yourself around, it's like nah, say something nice now about yourself. Or if you're knocking somebody else, it's like all right, what's something good about them, you know. But yeah, oh my god. But yeah, these journals, I really like the idea, and I like the writer project too, to encourage people to write. Or how about a video project to encourage them to do a video diary? Not
Anything.
everyone, not everyone can write. Not everyone even has the motor skills. But
Yep.
maybe a video. It's like, hey, send them to me. Send videos to me for heaven's sake out
Yeah,
there.
yes. That was a good idea.
You have a great group. Your group is I really like it.
Okay.
Joyce and Sarah. Um, it's like I think you guys do, and that encourages a lot of personal growth too. It encourages positivity and positive thinking.
I didn't consult Sarah, but I signed up for her. Yesterday, I got the 500 members in which
Congratulations.
500, yeah, and furnishing. So I decided to send a gift certificate for coffee.
Good.
So that was my idea, but I sent it for both of us.
You should
So
be.
that,
It's like, well, hey, you guys did a really good. That's great. I'm glad to see you. With that.
thank you. In less than a year and a half, we're spread over 6 continents, and I'm proud of that. But
You should be.
I mean, more so, I like to make the other members feel good. So by taking the 500 member, which the number is beautiful to me.
It
So
is.
I said,
It's a great thing.
do you think um, uh, the positivity is impossible for anyone?
I don't
There's
know. For is can everyone be positive? I guess to frame that in a plus side. I don't know. Um, I would hope everyone could be. But, I think about some of the really difficult circumstances from where some people come. Like so many brain injury survivors come from a legacy of abuse, physical, sexual, emotional abuse. And then to have like acquired brain injury on top of it. And many of them have their brain injury from their abuse. I don't know. I would pray that they can be, but I don't know. That is a question beyond I believe in the power of positive psychology. I really do. Can everyone? I don't know, honestly. I
do you
don't know.
know? Do you know Seligman, the father of positive thinking?
I know of him. I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
met him or anything like that, but I know of him and I know well of positive psych. Um, I like it. And for survivors, I'm a big believer in three major schools: positive psychology, behavioral psychology. Anyone who knows me knows well, and neuropsychology, of course.
Yes.
Cognitive psychology, I guess CBT. Um, I guess then I should amend that to four. It's like positive psychology, cognitive behavioral psychology, DBT, and neuropsychology. These are the four major schools.
What's TBT?
DBT,
Yeah.
dialectical behavioral therapy. It is what's used with borderline patients and some narcissistic types. What it is it teaches, and actually with autistic patients, and we found it works with a lot of different patients. It's teaching a lot of the social skills directly.
What does
Um,
it stand for? What does it
di-
stand for?
Dialectical, behavioral therapy.
Okay.
And its goal is like to teach social skills directly. This is what you do when, and that's where the behavioral component comes in. Like just teach it straight out, reinforce doing the right behaviors. Like, for example, for brain injury survivors, a lot of us have a problem with like knowing what to do or feeling the feels or knowing the mind of the other. So you just teach, like if you see someone with their arms full of grocery bags, you just, when you see that, go and help them carry them in. Say, do you need help? If they say yes, make it into an algorithm. Even if you don't understand why you should do that, if you see it, do this. Because many people with brain injury, they lose that understanding of why you should do it. So you just teach them to do it. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And that's teaching compassion. So
Yeah.
even if they don't have the emotional empathy, the ability to feel how somebody else feels, you can at least teach them to show compassion. If you see somebody crying, do you want a hug? Can I help you? Even if you don't know why, because you cannot emotionally feel the feeling because of damage to certain areas of your brain, you can at least teach the person, do this when you see this. If you see your spouse, with their head down or looking tucked, can I help you? Can I do something for you? Even if you don't understand why, you can tell somebody, oh, if you see this, you should do this. And you put that together with these other modes and you help, like, and neuropsych involves like using the EEGs and brain scans to find out what's wrong neurologically and maybe to reteach some skills through some other techniques and working with the docs and things. And CBT is to understand, teach people to recognize certain signals and like recognize their own feelings or regain. And then you put that with positive psychology, which is like to teach some gratitude back and teach what remnant skills they have. So those components of psych are still very useful.
I asked you if you know Solomon because you were at University of Pennsylvania.
Medically, I was there when I
Oh,
worked
okay.
the
Okay.
nurse. I was there when I worked trauma and emergency, so I would have had no contact. I studied at Drexel. I studied for my doctorate at Drexel. But when I was a nurse, I worked down at University of Pennsylvania. Did I hear of him? Sure. Like I said, positive psych's an important part, but when you study neuropsych, you study a lot more of the neurosciences for clinical neuropsych. Um, but yeah, no, I admire the work that he's done. Was a very transformative, and it's like disability psychology and system psych, significantly transformative within the clinical psych.
That is a distinction. Uh, pessimism, pessimism, pessimistic people
Learned
look at
helplessness. Yeah,
the situation as permanent, as positive people look at the situation as temporary. I
temporary.
like that.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I would agree with you. I mean, even if it's like, or at least for me, I would argue that you could still do something about your situation. Even my brain injury, it's like I will continue to heal till the day I die, and I always make sure that my survivors that I work with and everyone else knows that you will always continue to heal, even if it's slower than you'd like it to. Synaptogenesis, a little bit of neurogenesis, not as much as we'd like, but a new, axonal sprouting, dendritic development, learning new skills. For the rest of your life, you will continue to heal. But how well you heal depends on what choices you make as a survivor. Um, if you're optimistic and you're focused that this is temporary, you can make yourself grow and do better. If, on the other hand, you just quit or you're angry all the time or you're blaming everybody else for your problems or you're negative and don't want to make changes or grow, oh well, that's on you. because ultimately responsibility ends you.
Yep. Yep.
And so, yes, just like you, I am an optimist when it comes to recovery. I want to thank you for exploring, this topic. I mean, I see our time's almost spat out, but um, I think because this is something we need to encourage our fellow survivors for the stroke, brain injury, traumatic brain injury, because it's easy to get stuck into that learned helplessness because people quit after failing one or two tries. You got to try again and again and again sometimes because growing new neurons, new connections, synaptogenesis, things like that, takes a long time. It's like going back to school again.
Exactly.
You got to try. So finally, I'm sure you did not get your book published immediately. I'm sure it took effort, right?
Yep. Yes. Yes.
Same thing. And I did not get viewers and subscribers. Please push like and subscribe. You know where this one's going. Until a couple weeks, I did not start getting more and more, and we're still growing. We're at now more than 200, and I hope that keeps going up. But it takes time, and a healthy growing channel and a healthy growing readership for books grows slowly, just like you do. But it won't happen immediately. But you gotta try.
Oh no. You can't expect that to happen immediately.
Yeah, and it's just like any other skill. The best way to grow it is slowly and persistent. And that's what we're trying to teach.
I agree 101%. Thank
All
you.
right. And thank you again. This is a great topic. It's so essential. And we will put down below, we'll mention about positive psychology. It's just so important, especially for survivors, because it's easy to get lost in yourself. And it is easy to become depressed. And also it is important to separate clinical depression, which is a medical disorder that needs to be treated by medical professionals. If you or somebody you love is clinically depressed, showing signs of depression, talking about suicide, get help. Call 988, call 911.
I want to thank you.
Yes.
I called the number and got some advice for a suicide, and then I called my friend. I called her, and she said, "Let's hold once a week because I don't want to wake up in the morning. I think you're amazing, and I want to be around amazing people." So, thank you, Mark.
I'm glad I was able to help, and I hope anyone else out there, if you know anyone, please, it's okay to get help. It's important to talk about it. You will not cause them to do it just because you use the word suicide. If they have a plan, 911 right away. It's okay to get people help. It's really important. Okay. It's not the same thing as being a little blue or down. It is a medical illness, a neurological disorder that needs treatment right away. As far as like being positive, you can't just tell someone to buck up, cheer up, or be positive. It has to come from inside, and they have to be in the right frame of mind in order to do that. Please, if you liked what we talked about, if you have any questions, comments, please put them below. If you have any questions for Joyce, of course, very knowledgeable, talented, skilled writer. And so if you want to know anything more, please below. Please click like and subscribe. If you want to communicate with any of our other hosts, likewise below. We are supported by the Corporation Friends of Brain Injury, a fairly new company who helps disseminate medical information as well as just information about acquired brain injury. We are a company for brain injured people by people with brain injury. But please click like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. We'll see you again soon enough, and hope you have a good day.
Me too. Bye-bye. Thank
Stay
you.
positive.